Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her reflection in the quantum containment field, watching the subtle ripples of energy distort her image. The Vexteri had made a critical error in their calculations. They'd assumed their technology was beyond human comprehension. They were wrong. The research station's curved walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, a testament to the aliens' mastery of organic technology. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she examined the neural interface panel beside her. After 3 months of studying their systems under the guise of cultural exchange, she understood more about their technology than they realized. The diplomatic mission had seemed promising at first. Humanity's first contact with the Vexteri presented an opportunity to share knowledge and advance both species. But Sarah had noticed the inconsistencies in their behavior, the way they restricted access to certain areas, their reluctance to discuss their peaceful research projects, and their growing agitation as she asked increasingly precise questions about their quantum systems. Everything changed when she discovered the truth. Hidden in their data cores, she found plans for systematic human subjugation. The Vexteri didn't want allies. They wanted test subjects. Their entire station was designed to study potential weaknesses in human physiology and psychology. They caught her accessing the restricted files, and rather than kill her immediately, decided she would make an excellent first test subject. The containment chamber was their finest achievement, a quantum prison designed to hold specimens for extended observation. Specimen vital signs stable, the station's AI announced in its melodic tone. Beginning observation cycle 7. Sarah reached into her boot and retrieved the quantum processor she'd modified during her first month aboard. The Vexteri had thoroughly searched her but missed it, dismissing it as a simple data storage device. Their arrogance was their weakness. They couldn't imagine a human understanding enough about quantum technology to create something truly dangerous. You know, she spoke to the empty chamber, knowing the AI was recording everything. Humans have a saying about keeping engineers in locked rooms. We tend to take it as a challenge. The modified processor interfaced seamlessly with the neural panel. Sarah had spent weeks studying the quantum signatures of the station's security systems. The Vexteri used quantum entanglement for instantaneous communication between systems. Elegant, but predictable once you understood the patterns. Warning signals flashed across the panel as her device began its work. The containment field flickered, its energy patterns disrupted by carefully calculated quantum interference. The AI's voice warbled, its usually smooth tones becoming distorted. Warning: quantum containment integrity compromised. Attempting to compensate, Sarah watched as the bioluminescent patterns on the walls began to pulse erratically. The Vexteri had created something beautiful, but failed to account for the determination of a human engineer with nothing left to lose. The containment field collapsed with a flash of blue light. Sarah stepped through, her modified processor now fully linked to the station's neural network. Information flooded her mind through the interface: system schematics, security protocols, crew locations. The Vexteri had wanted to study human adaptability. They were about to get a practical demonstration. Security breach detected in Containment Section Alpha, the AI announced throughout the station. All personnel implement containment protocols. Sarah accessed a maintenance shaft, her movements guided by the neural interface. The station's organic architecture responded to her commands, sealing corridors behind her and rerouting power distribution. She could sense the confusion among the Vexteri crew as their own systems began working against them. Curious, she muttered, examining the data streams. They never fully integrated their quantum systems with the organic components. Two parallel networks, barely communicating with each other. A fundamental design flaw she could exploit. The first security team found only an empty corridor, sealed at both ends by emergency bulkheads. The second team became trapped in their own quantum containment field. The third never even made it out of their ready room. The atmospheric controls had already been reprogrammed. Sarah made her way to the central processing core, where the organic and quantum systems intersected. The Vexteri had created their station by combining stolen technologies from multiple species, never fully understanding how they worked together. But Sarah had spent her career studying the integration of disparate systems. "This is Chief Administrator Vextal," a voice echoed through the station's communication system. "Human specimen, your actions are futile. This station's defenses are beyond your comprehension. Surrender now, and we will ensure your death is quick." Sarah accessed the communication system through her neural link. "Administrator, you seem to have misunderstood the situation. This isn't an escape attempt, it's a takeover. You wanted to study human adaptability. Class is now in session." She reached the processing core, a massive chamber filled with pulsing organic tendrils intertwined with quantum computation matrices. The beauty of it almost made her pause. Almost. "You should have killed me when you had the chance," she whispered, connecting her processor to the core interface. "Instead, you gave an engineer 3 months to study your systems, a quantum processor to modify, and the motivation to use both." The station's lights flickered as Sarah's code began rewriting the core protocols. The Vexteri had created something extraordinary, a hybrid of organic and quantum technology that could adapt and evolve. But they had never considered what would happen if someone understood both systems better than they did. Alarms blared as the station's internal defenses activated, but not against Sarah. The Vexteri were about to learn a valuable lesson about humanity. Never trap an engineer in a room full of technology they understand. The experiment had begun, but this time, the observers were about to become the observed. The quantum processor hummed against Sarah's temple as she navigated the station's neural pathways. Data streams flowed through her consciousness like rivers of light, each one representing a different system she now controlled. The Vexteri's panicked communications echoed through the network, a symphony of chaos she orchestrated. All sectors reporting system failures. A technician's voice crackled through the comm system. "The human has somehow gained access to primary controls." Sarah smiled as she worked, her fingers dancing across neural interfaces. The Vexteri crew had sealed themselves in various secure sections of the station, not realizing they were playing directly into her hands. Each containment protocol they activated gave her more control over their movement. "Fascinating," she murmured, examining the station's core programming. They built quantum redundancies into every system, but never considered they might work against each other. The organic components of the station pulsed around her, responding to her commands as she rewrote their base protocols. Administrator Vextal's voice boomed through the station again, though Sarah could detect the uncertainty in his harmonics. "Human, you cannot comprehend the forces you're dealing with. The quantum matrices are delicately balanced. Any disruption could cause a cascading failure that would destroy the station." Sarah interrupted, her voice carrying through every speaker. "Or could trigger a quantum resonance that would merge the organic and mechanical systems into something new. Yes, I know. I spent 3 months studying exactly how your hybrid technology works while you assumed I was just a primitive human asking naive questions." She accessed the environmental controls for the command sector, where most of the senior staff had gathered. With a thought, she began adjusting the atmospheric composition. Nothing lethal. She wasn't a murderer, but enough to make them uncomfortable and uncertain. "What's happening?" one of the Vexteri officers demanded as the lights in their section dimmed to a deep purple. "The air. It feels wrong." "Just a small demonstration," Sarah announced. "I've adjusted the quantum resonance of your atmosphere scrubbers. The effect is temporary, but it should help you understand your situation better." Through the neural interface, she watched as the Vexteri leadership struggled to maintain control. Their elegant forms moved with less grace now, their iridescent skin dulled by stress and fear. They had never expected to become test subjects in their own laboratory. Sarah began the next phase of her plan, using the station's organic components to seal off specific sections. The living walls responded to her commands, growing and shifting to create new patterns of isolation. She had discovered early in her imprisonment that the organic technology had its own form of consciousness, one that responded to clear purpose and direction, rather than the Vexteri's rigid control protocols. "You should be proud, Administrator," she commented while working. "Your hybrid technology is remarkable. The quantum matrices provide precision, while the organic components offer adaptability. The problem is, you never truly merged them. You just forced them to coexist." A warning flashed through her neural link. A team of Vexteri security forces was attempting to override a sealed bulkhead. Sarah diverted her attention to their location, watching through the station's internal sensors. "I wouldn't do that," she warned as they prepared to use a quantum destabilizer on the door. "The organic components don't respond well to quantum disruption. You might break through, but you'll also trigger an immune response from the station itself." They ignored her warning. The destabilizer powered up with a high-pitched whine, its energy building to discharge level. Sarah sighed and prepared to demonstrate why testing unknown variables was dangerous. The quantum pulse hit the organic barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the living walls shuddered, their bioluminescent patterns flaring bright red. Defensive tendrils erupted from the surrounding surfaces, instantly cocooning the security team in a web of responsive organic matter. "They're unharmed," Sarah announced to the increasingly panicked command staff. "Just immobilized." The station's organic components perceived a threat and responded accordingly, something you might have discovered if you bothered to fully understand the technology you appropriated. Through her neural link, Sarah began accessing the station's research databases. 3 months of observations, experiments, and plans for humanity's subjugation. All the evidence she needed. She started transmitting it on multiple frequencies, ensuring that both human authorities and other alien species would receive proof of the Vexteri's true intentions. "What are you doing?" Administrator Vextal demanded, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. "Ensuring transparency," Sarah replied, continuing her work. "Your species presented itself as peaceful mentors while planning to exploit mine. The galaxy should know the truth. But don't worry. I'm also transmitting the technical specifications of your hybrid technology. Other species can learn from your mistakes." The station's organic systems continued to respond to her guidance, evolving new configurations that merged seamlessly with the quantum networks. Sarah could feel the change through her neural interface. The two systems weren't just cooperating now. They were beginning to synchronize. "You wanted to study human adaptability," she continued, watching the transformation unfold. "Here's what you missed in your research. We don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to understand, to improve, to create something better from the pieces we're given." The Vexteri leadership watched in helpless fascination as their station evolved around them, its separate systems finally learning to work as one. Sarah had become more than just an escaped prisoner. She was now a catalyst for change they never imagined possible. The experiment continued, but the results were proving far different than the Vexteri had planned. Sarah monitored the quantum fluctuations rippling through the station's neural network. Each surge represented a failed attempt by the Vexteri to regain control of their systems. Their increasingly desperate efforts brought a grim satisfaction. They were finally learning what it felt like to be helpless in their own creation. Through the station's sensors, she watched a group of Vexteri scientists frantically working in one of the auxiliary control rooms. Their elongated fingers danced across quantum interfaces, trying to isolate their systems from her control. But with each attempt, she adapted faster than they could respond. "Remarkable," she muttered, observing their methods. "They keep trying the same approaches, expecting different results." The neural processor hummed against her skin as she countered their latest attempt to override her commands. A new voice crackled through the communication system, not the familiar harmonics of Administrator Vextal, but a deeper, more authoritative tone. "This is High Commander Zexacor of the Vexteri Dominion. Your actions constitute an act of war against our species." Sarah's fingers paused over a neural interface. This was unexpected. The station's supposed research mission apparently warranted attention from the highest levels of Vexteri leadership. "War," she responded, her voice carrying through every speaker. Interesting choice of words, Commander. Would you like to explain the weapons research I found in your restricted databases? The tests designed to identify human physiological weaknesses. The plans for systematic conquest, disguised as cultural exchange. She accessed the station's deep archives, broadcasting the evidence she'd discovered. Tactical assessments of Earth's defenses, biological warfare simulations, psychological profiles identifying potential resistance leaders for elimination. Your species approached us claiming peaceful intentions, Sarah continued, her voice hard. We believed you. We shared our knowledge, welcomed you to our worlds, and all the while, you were planning our destruction. Through the neural network, she detected multiple quantum signatures approaching the station. Reinforcements, most likely. The Vexteri weren't ready to admit defeat. You cannot hope to prevail against our fleet, Zexcor declared. Surrender now, and perhaps we will allow your species a measure of autonomy when we implement our plans. Sarah laughed, the sound echoing through the station's corridors. Commander, you still don't understand what's happening here. I'm not trying to defeat your fleet. I'm ensuring that every spacefaring species in this sector knows exactly what the Vexteri Dominion really is. She activated the station's long-range communication arrays, broadcasting on all frequencies. The evidence of their plans, the technical specifications of their stolen technology, the truth about their peaceful research, everything. Your entire strategy relied on secrecy, she explained while working. You approached each species separately, playing the role of benevolent advisors while gathering intelligence for conquest. But secrets are hard to keep when your systems are compromised. The station's organic components thrummed with energy as she integrated them more deeply with the quantum networks. The hybrid technology was evolving, becoming something the Vexteri never imagined possible. Station defenses at maximum capacity, the AI announced, its voice now synchronized perfectly with the organic systems. Unknown vessels approaching. Analyzing quantum signatures. You have no right. Administrator Vextel's voice joined the channel, panic evident in its harmonics. This technology is the property of the Dominion. Is it? Sarah challenged. Or did you steal it from other species, just like you planned to steal our worlds? The quantum matrices bear striking similarities to Arcturian design. The organic components share patterns with Zen-Lavi biotechnology. You didn't create this station. You cobbled it together from the achievements of species you conquered or planned to conquer. The approaching vessels entered visual range, sleek, predatory shapes designed to project power and intimidation. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she made her final preparations. A human saying seems appropriate here. She broadcast to both the station and the approaching fleet. Those who live by the sword die by the sword. Or in modern terms, those who rely on stolen technology shouldn't be surprised when it's turned against them. The station's hybrid systems reached full synchronization. Quantum energy merged with organic responses, creating defense patterns that adapted and evolved faster than any conventional tactics could counter. Sarah had turned their patchwork creation into something truly integrated and pointed it directly at its creators. Final warning, Commander, she announced. Withdraw your fleet and acknowledge your crimes, or discover exactly how effective your weapons can be when properly unified and controlled by someone who actually understands how they work. The experiment had become a standoff. But this time, the observer held all the cards, and the subjects were about to learn the true cost of their arrogance. The Vexteri fleet hung in space like a constellation of threats, their quantum drives pulsing with barely contained energy. Through the station's enhanced sensors, Sarah watched them arrange themselves into attack formation. Predictable, yet somehow disappointing. You know what fascinates me, Commander? Sarah's voice carried across all channels as her fingers danced through holographic control interfaces. How your species consistently underestimates the very technologies you've stolen. These defense systems are capable of so much more than simple barrier projection. The station shuddered as its organic components fully merged with the quantum matrices. Crystalline growths emerged from the hull, each one a perfect fusion of biological and quantum engineering. The Vexteri had created their hybrid technology through force. Sarah had taught it to evolve through harmony. "Final approach vector locked," announced one of the fleet captains. "Preparing tow." The captain's transmission cut off as Sarah activated the station's new defensive capabilities. Quantum fields rippled through space, their patterns guided by organic intelligence. The lead vessels found themselves ensnared in a web of energy that adapted to every attempt at escape. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Sarah commented, monitoring the results. When quantum fields are guided by organic intelligence, they develop almost musical patterns. Your ships can't break free because the fields learn from each attempt. High Commander Zexacor's voice crackled through the chaos. "This is impossible. Our systems are designed to operate independently." Sarah interrupted. "That's your fundamental mistake. You treat technology as something to be controlled rather than understood. Everything in your society is about dominance rather than cooperation." She watched through the station's sensors as the trapped ships struggled against their quantum bonds. Each movement was met with an adaptive response, the fields growing stronger with each attempt to break free. "Release our vessels immediately," Zexcor demanded, his harmonics sharp with rage. Sarah accessed the station's deep archives, broadcasting their contents to the fleet. "Let's review your research data, Commander. Specifically, your analysis of human psychological responses to captivity. According to your studies, we're supposed to break under isolation, to surrender to superior force." The station's organic components pulsed with new energy patterns as she worked. "But you missed something crucial in your research. Humans don't just survive captivity. We study it. We learn from it. We turn it against our captors." Through her neural interface, Sarah felt the station's systems singing with potential. The hybrid technology had evolved beyond its original constraints, becoming something that responded to intention and understanding rather than mere commands. "Your entire strategy relied on superior technology," she continued, implementing the next phase of her plan. "But technology is neutral. It's the understanding that matters. And while you were studying our weaknesses, I was learning everything about how your systems actually work." The quantum fields surrounding the trapped ships began to pulse with new patterns, not to destroy. Sarah wasn't interested in bloodshed, but to demonstrate just how completely she had mastered their technology. "Here's today's lesson in human nature, Commander," she broadcast. "We're not just adaptable. We're innovative. When you lock us in a cage, we don't just try to escape. We redesign the cage itself." Ship by ship, the Vexteri fleet's systems began to shut down, not through brutal force, but through precise manipulation of their quantum networks. Sarah had learned their technology so thoroughly that she could speak directly to their ship's organic components, convincing them to enter a dormant state. "Don't worry," she assured the increasingly panicked crew members. "Your life support systems will remain functional. Consider this a timeout, a chance to experience what it feels like to be studied against your will." Administrator Vextel's voice joined the channel again, but this time without its usual arrogance. "What do you want? What are your demands?" Sarah allowed herself a small smile. I want you to understand what you've done. Not just to me, but to every species you've deceived and planned to conquer. The evidence of your crimes is now spreading across every quantum communication network in this sector. Your diplomatic facades have fallen." The station's sensors detected new quantum signatures appearing at the edge of their range. Ships from other species, drawn by the broadcasts. The Vexteri's carefully constructed web of deception was unraveling in real time. "You see, Administrator," Sarah explained, watching the approaching vessels, "I didn't just take control of your station. I've revealed the truth about your entire society. Every species you've manipulated, every technology you've stolen, every conquest you've planned. It's all being exposed." The experiment had become a revelation. But for the Vexteri, the real test was just beginning. The void around the station had become crowded with vessels from a dozen different species, each drawn by Sarah's broadcasts. Through the neural interface, she monitored the quantum communications flying between them. Shock, anger, and demands for justice, mixing in a chorus of outrage against the Vexteri. "Your time is running out, Commander," Sarah announced, watching the Arcturian and Zenlevy ships take up defensive positions around the station. "Every species you've deceived is here to witness your response. Choose carefully." High Commander Zexacor's response came after a long pause, his harmonics stripped of their former authority. "You cannot judge an entire civilization based on military contingency plans. Every species plans for conflict. Planning for conflict is different from systematically deceiving peaceful cultures while preparing their destruction," Sarah countered. She projected the contents of the station's databases into the space around the assembled fleet, a damning holographic display of the Vexteri's true intentions. The station's hybrid systems hummed with energy as she prepared for the final phase of her plan. The organic components had fully merged with the quantum matrices, creating something entirely new, a testament to what technology could achieve when guided by understanding rather than dominance. "Look at your own creation," she broadcast to all ships. "This station was built from stolen pieces of other cultures' achievements. But when those pieces are allowed to work in harmony rather than forced servitude, they become something greater than the sum of their parts." Through the neural interface, Sarah felt the station's systems responding to her thoughts with unprecedented synchronization. The quantum fields holding the Vexteri fleet pulsed with patterns that mimicked natural rhythms, order emerging from chaos. "I'm offering you a choice, Commander," she continued. "Not because you deserve it, but because humans understand something your species never grasped. True strength comes from rising above the desire for revenge." The assembled alien fleet watched as Sarah demonstrated the station's evolved capabilities. The hybrid technology she'd refined could easily destroy the Vexteri ships. Instead, she used it to project detailed technical schematics, showing exactly how their stolen technology could be reclaimed and improved by its original creators. "Your species will face justice for its actions," she declared, "but not